Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Omar Khalid, a senior business program manager with Microsoft, and I'm really glad you've joined us today. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to have a data grounded and insight driven conversation about the bundled offerings that Microsoft exclusively offers partners to help them save money, grow their business, and accelerate innovation. And these are the Microsoft Partner Benefit Packages. These are bundled offerings of discounted products, Azure credits, and one to one personalized support and guidance services exclusively built for partners. Partners use these packages to save money in running their business, accelerate innovation, improve solution quality, upskill their teams, and navigate the partner program at Microsoft, all in one package starting as low as $350 a year. So the question that partners have is, are these Microsoft Partner Benefit Packages a good investment? And how should I think about leveraging them in my own business? So to help give this point of view from a third-party perspective, we have invited Steve White, Program Vice President for Channels and Alliances at IDC, to join us today. Steve and his team recently did a study on our 2026 benefit packages and the return on investment that partners can expect and how partners are actually using them to grow their business. Steve, welcome. Great to have you.
Thanks, Omar. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Steve, why don't you start us off with just telling us a little bit about yourself and IDC and the work that you did?
Yeah. So thanks for the opportunity, Omar. So my team's research coverage area is basically channels and alliances, or in a more modern vernacular, you would say maybe partnering ecosystems. What we cover in terms of our research and the work that we do is we work with most of the leading technology vendors and their partner ecosystems. And as I often put it, we're kind of looking to identify that mutual success for the technology vendors and their partners. And this is a great example of that. One thing I would stress in that, this kind of outlook that we have, we always bring the partner point of view into any of the work that we do here in terms of the engagement. So we're really looking for those benefits here for partners. In this particular case, we work with Microsoft to validate the Microsoft Partner Benefits packages as a third party, independent, credible analyst. And really, we're looking to evaluate the potential values that partners can realize if they really look to engage and maximize these packages. We've published an IDC report, which is based on those findings that compare and validate the value of the packages in the real world for partners. So that's kind of the balancing act that we're actually doing here. That's that independent third party credibility, but making sure there's value in this for those partners of yours, Omar.
Got it. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, it's great to get that third party kind of independent assessment. Obviously, we have our understanding of what's useful to partners, and it's great to get that validation from your side. So, can you tell us a little bit more about the work that the team did? What did you actually do here?
Yeah, and this was a fairly specific task. So what Microsoft asked us to do was really to independently review and validate these packages, which are part of the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program. These benefit packages. There's basically three levels of packages. There's a partner launch, there's a partner success core, and a partner success expanded. And our job in this was really to look at under the hood in terms of what's in each package. So lots of elements in the packages, the software, the Azure credits, support services, and everything else that's in each level. So there's a number of things that partners should look at. Um, in terms of the valuation, so from a pure cost savings perspective, we valued each package based on Microsoft's published product list pricing. For the support services that are in there, we used or applied IDC validated services rates. So we did a bit of work between IDC and Microsoft working out the right rates. We have some independent benchmarks on those kind of things. And then we netted out overall to say, this is an overall potential benefit versus a fee that the partner actually pays for the packages. Um, just a quick note: some of the things that are in there was kind of hard to put a value against, to put a dollar figure against. So our valuation is actually conservative. What I would say, some of the elements that are harder to price reliably, so things like the AI powered partner marketing center pro, which is a great asset, but it's hard to put a value on that. Things like technical sales, deployment support, and those kind of things. But also to balance this out, again, this is us being the independent third party. To actually realize the full value of the benefits, you need to use them all. And so, there is this potential savings that we stress here is that if you really lean in and actually do it well, there are some great potential savings here.
Got it. No, thanks for the details there, Steve. So what's the headline? What did you guys find?
Yeah, so the headline is there's lots of value here. So let me start in terms of the kind of a big picture view of this because it kind of reframes how partners should be really looking at these things. So these benefit packages effectively a really interesting investment on behalf of Microsoft to support a partner's growth. So if you look at it in that way, that's definitely something that partners want to be thinking about in terms of what you're looking at. There are, those benefits, those elements that are actually included are a fraction of that retail value. So each package bundles lots of Microsoft software licenses, Azure credits, support options that can all be leveraged actually to drive the partner's business. And I think that's the key here, which is, sometimes these benefits, you list them down and partners say, well, is that a benefit or not? Well, it becomes a benefit if you really use it. Um, the potential savings are really significant. And again, we should we prefer that partners look at this, that these are not just about kind of a cost saving, if you like, but there's something that they can really utilize within their business. I mean, those discounted licenses are one of the biggest things, which is, they should be looking to build and test solutions, but also train your employees on the Microsoft products. And therefore, that makes it easier for you to work with your customers because you're a professional on the same technologies as they are as well. If you think about those solutions that you're creating, the products access, but also technical pre-sales support enables you to have faster time to market, probably, and also enable you to get better at doing these things. If you think about this again as this kind of big picture, so these packages and their elements are also aligned to the Microsoft portfolio and the Microsoft strategy going forward. So again, there's a signal here from Microsoft. Microsoft's investing on your behalf. You get the latest technologies as part of the process. They're very much aligned. And this co-investment mindset, I think, is really interesting. And effectively, it should help partners to just be more successful quicker, kind of get faster to market, deploy faster, build and test, and also have some business efficiency there because these are investments that Microsoft is making on your behalf as well. Kind of the headlines, going back to your original question here, is there is a headline, which is there's a big saving number potentially against a very low entrance point. So if you look at the lowest package, the Panda launch package, which is a cost of 350, there's a retail value there of $17,700. So the potential savings is huge.
It's
When
pretty
you go
significant. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's like it's really significant. Well, and that's only the lowest level. So when you go to the highest level on the Partner Success Expanded, mainly because of those software licenses that are accessible and usable, there's a potential savings of $579,000 a year. I'll say again, it's significant, which is interesting. But again, you've got to utilize those things, and I think that's the kind of magic here. So yeah, it's just a really good investment there.
Yeah, that's a great call out, Steve. The question, I guess, is like you mentioned that we have entry level benefit packages, right?
Mhm.
And then we have expanded that is on the other end of the spectrum. So how should partners think about this progression?
Yeah, and that's a great point because I know you and I have had this conversation about there is a progression, but there's also an ability to kind of stack these things as well, which is interesting. It really shouldn't be. They really shouldn't look at it as to say, I kind of start here, actually go here. They should be looking across those benefit packages and say, right, what fits best with me now, and how can I look to actually invest in the right areas? It's not a one-time purchase, if you like. So really look at it as a strategic lever for your business as a partner available at a genuinely low cost. So that lowest point of entry is a crazy low cost versus a $17,000 potential benefit there. Um, the program is built to graduate. So as you graduate, as your business grows, you can absolutely say, yeah, there's a better fit for me. But you can again flex between those things. And I think really the big secret here is just integrating those benefits into the way you work. They are investments, they are co-investments. This is almost like a subscription, if you like. It's like you're gonna look to compare it, you're gonna look to optimize it, you're gonna look to renew every year, you're gonna make sure you're getting the most out of it. So that's kind of the way that we look at it.
Got it. Yeah, and I think Steve, to your point, like, we want to meet partners where they are, right? The way Microsoft has designed these benefit packages, like if you're a new partner starting out and you need some, productivity licenses to get your practice up and running, launch is a great place to start. But then,
Yeah.
if you're a more mature partner who has a more established practice, right, and you're expanding into other solution areas, then potentially expanded is something that you should look at. And then to your point, we do see partners that stack benefits, so they might have a core and then an expanded. So that just depends on the partner's needs in terms of like their staffing as well as their growth and what they need in that area. So the other point I want to go back to, Steve, is you mentioned that um, the value did go up. So can you elaborate a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we looked at this compared to 2025 as well. And so although the partner fees went up very slightly, less than 3.5%, the total value of the package across the various different levels grew between 9 and 40%. So paying marginally more, but getting materially more. So again, this is definitely something you need to lean into as a partner. A lot of the new stuff is kind of AI software and additional seats. So again, align to that Microsoft strategy, align to where there's opportunity. I do like this co-investment mentality. Microsoft is investing on your behalf here. So effectively make the most of it. This is a trend here that, this is moving in the partner's favor. There's a lot of opportunity coming around the AI offerings with Microsoft and with others. To be fair, there's lots going on in the marketplace, but Microsoft is setting you up here, which is like you don't often see this, where this is kind of falling in the partner's favor here. So
Awesome, Steve. So I think now we're going to get into the next part of the webinar where we're going to flip the script a little bit. And Steve,
yeah,
you're going to
love
ask me
it.
some questions. So please go ahead.
Yeah. And so I'm going to talk about intent, Omar, because you and I have had a great conversation about this in the past around, there's a reason that you evolve these benefits. There's a reason that you actually change the way that these packages are actually pulled together. Would love to know your intentions behind that because I think it's a really good story for the partners to hear, aligned to the Microsoft strategy and all those good things. So, what was your thinking behind these changes?
Yeah, happy to talk about that, Steve. So really the intent is to meet partners where the market is going, right? If you think back to last year, right, obviously AI is the main focus. And so we made changes in response to that. So a few specific things that I'll call out. We had separate SKUs, M365 Copilot for sales, finance, and services. We've consolidated that into a single M365 Copilot SKU aligned with the product strategy, makes it easier for partners to manage, gives them more flexibility. And we've updated, actually increased the seat count in select packages, right? Similarly, we've added Dragon Copilot for the very first time and Copilot Studio credits to partner benefit packages in select tiers. So that's really the intent to make sure that the partner benefit packages continue to provide the latest and the best of Microsoft products to partners at a economical value.
Yeah, and that's really cool to hear. I think the mindset for partners should be really just keeping very close to these benefits because that's a great set of new offerings you could be expanding your offers to your customers with. So that tracks very much with what we said. We had an interesting conversation about this stackability and also how partners are using it as well. And I know you shared a few examples of how partners are stacking benefits, how they're using them. Can you share a few of those as well? Because it's always good for partners to hear about other partners using this stuff as well.
Yeah, yeah. So if you think about our entry level benefit package, right, which is launch, you get Microsoft 365 Business Premium, you get Teams, right, and so that is good enough to get partners started, right, and you get up to 5 seats for most of the products in that benefit package, right. So that's good enough to get you started, but then as you expand your practice, right, have more people coming in, there's a need to have more licenses available for internal use, but then also for training and upskilling of your staff. And so then partners move up to core. Sometimes, they stack those together because they've grown so fast that they need more licenses, right? So core for most benefit packages will give you, 15 licenses. And then as you go up to expanded, you get even more licenses. But then it's not just the quantity of licenses that goes up, it's also the type of products that become available. So in our higher tier benefit packages, You also get access to Copilot, you get access to Copilot Studio credits. Going back to the question that you asked about how partners are using this, right? So there's stacking from a quantity standpoint to get enough licenses for their people so that they can get the hands-on experience. And really, the idea here is Microsoft believes that partners should be customer zero, right? The more they are using the products themselves, right, the better place they are to help customers through this AI transformation, right? The other aspect is about getting access to Microsoft's portfolio of products, right? And so when you move up to core and expanded, you get access to things like the Defender suite, and those are helpful if the partner is expanding into a different solution area, for example, focusing on security, or they're going up from like SMB type customers to SMC type customers, right, where those products are more relevant. And then as you go up through those product benefit packages, the amount of Azure credits go up as well. So you start off with $700, and then it goes up all the way to $5,000 in terms of Azure credits. And really, the credits are there to help partners do demos, do POCs, run labs, and get hands-on experience with the product, as well as be better prepared when they're going in front of customers, right? Without having to burn their own cash. So it's really like an investment from Microsoft to better enable the partner. I know we've talked a lot about the product benefits, and those are the ones that are the most valuable, but I do want to call out some of the other aspects of these benefit packages. So we also have advisory and support services like technical pre-sales and deployment services, right? That help partners with more kind of deal execution, right? Like once you've done all the upskilling, you're enabled, now you're executing, you're trying to close that customer deal. This is where these services can really provide help. The other aspect is, Microsoft Concierge, which, as the name suggests, is really like a one-stop shop for partners, right? Concierge is there to help and advise partners on all aspects of their Microsoft relationship, whether it's the CSP program, whether it's incentives, and really help partners maximize the Microsoft investment that they're making. So, highly recommend Concierge. And then I do want to call out a new addition to our benefit packages this round, which is the AI powered Partner Marketing Center Pro. That's really to help, accelerate the go to market speed for partners. So that's the overall kind of value in our benefit packages, and that's how we see partners use it.
Yeah, I love those. I love the way you're describing those things. So you're effectively bringing the latest in the portfolio, putting it in the hands of the partners, enabling them. Well, enabling you're prompting them almost, and they've got to kind of lean in and actually do this themselves. But across those benefits, what we saw and what I'm definitely hearing is there's a lot of things to lean into for the partners that are actually co-investments again. And that's the message I'm hearing here. Very much those kind of co-investments. Things like the MAI CPP concierge. I think that sounds super interesting because there's a lot of things going on in the world, but having that mentoring, hand-holding concierge type service is really to kind of help partners out. So it's to me, it's there's a bottom line here for the partners here is don't leave this money on the table effectively because this is a co-investment. Use it, actually utilize these things, make sure you're getting the most out of it, like any other resource that you use, but the value really comes when you lean in and you really use it. So
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. And so I do want to double down on that last part where you said, make sure you're utilizing concierge in Partner Center, and then also making, use of the technical pre-sale and delivery support, right? Those advisory benefits can really come in handy, especially if you're a new partner who's starting out and trying to get familiar with the Microsoft ecosystem. So do not leave those on the table. I guess one thing I was gonna ask you, Steve, is like, we talked about a lot of things, but if a partner takes one piece of advice from you today, what would that be?
yeah, I think I would go back to leaning in on these packages. I mean, we've all seen the book from years ago. It's a fairly kind of simple phrase, but actually be very deliberate about this. And so I was mentioning before, we kind of had this cadence that we were talking about. When you engage, really compare, but optimize and renew. So don't stop looking at these things because, by the way, I would imagine as the portfolio changes, these packages are going to get more and more value in them, which is what's happened from 25 to 2025 to 2026. So what we suggest is when you first come in, you're really comparing those packages, kind of step one. Quick tests is, for example, if you expect to spend more than $2,400 on Azure production for this year, you should probably be already looking at the second or third level. So there's a kind of a rhythm there. And then the second thing is really just kind of optimize and just continually look at your business. Make sure you're using the things, make sure you're assigning the licenses, make sure you're scheduling the training, you're consuming the credits, you're booking the support. And I would honestly say measure that. Keep an eye on that for yourselves because that's a useful internal metric. And then lastly, think about it like a subscription, like a renewal to say, oh, yeah, I need to pay attention to this, need to reevaluate. And really, the through line here is that if you think about these things, they're a strategic asset for your business. They're a strategic lever. They're not just a line item that you buy once. There's an entry cost, yes, but that's an easier decision to make because you see the value there. But really think about it moving forwards and say, how am I really leveraging this moving forwards?
Yeah, that totally makes sense, Steve, from what we hear from partners, right? I think to your point, this is almost something that's foundational in terms of enabling the partners to run their business
Yeah.
with Microsoft. And so, keeping close tabs on how they're utilizing these benefits is absolutely essential. And then using the kind of annual renewal as an opportunity to reflect on, what are their plans going forward, right? In terms of whether internal headcount or expanding into other solution areas, right? And that can kind of help them decide which benefit package is going to be the most useful and relevant going forward. And then with that, we really appreciate you coming on here, Steve, and appreciate IDC's point of view. Thanks a lot for joining us. So, for our partners to read about the study from IDC and also compare the packages, pricing, and benefits, you can go to the QR code or link on your screen. Your administrator in Microsoft's Partner Center is the contact within your organization who will need to make the purchase. So you can browse the packages on this site and recommend the best one to your Partner Center admin for purchase. Steve, thanks a lot for joining us and for the research and perspective from IDC.
No problem. Appreciate being here. It's a very valuable conversation for your partners. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.